Screams erupted in the hallway. It wasn't the kind of sound that belonged in a school full of buzzing chatter and slamming lockers, but it cut through the air like a blade. Everyone froze. Then seconds later, whispers began to ripple through the crowd as they turned to see the commotion. Standing in the middle of the hallway was Emily Reed. The girl nobody ever really noticed, the one who walked silently with her head down, books clutched tightly to her chest, and next to her, on the floor, was Jason Miller, the school's loudest bully, clutching his elbow and howling in pain. Just moments earlier, Jason had walked up to Emily with his usual pack of friends, ready for another round of torment. He had slapped her books out of her hands, sending papers scattering everywhere. But when she ignored him and bent down to pick them up, he crossed a line. His open palm struck her across the face, hard enough that the sound of the impact echoed through the hall. Something inside Emily snapped. For years, she had endured the whispers, the jokes about her quiet nature, the cruel laughter when she wore clothes that weren't in style, the insults about how she never stood up for herself. She had tried to be invisible, to make it through each day unnoticed. But Jason's slap was the spark that lit a fire she had buried for too long, before anyone could register what was happening. Emily grabbed Jason's arm with surprising speed. With a sharp, precise motion that didn't look like it belonged to someone so quiet and unassuming, she twisted it back. There was a loud, sickening crack. Jason screamed and dropped to the floor, his elbow bent at an unnatural angle. The hallway was silent. No one had ever seen Emily fight back, let alone do something so terrifyingly effective. Emily, Jason's friend stammered, backing away slowly. What? What did you do? Emily didn't answer. She stood there trembling, adrenaline coursing through her veins, tears brimming in her eyes. She wasn't proud of what she'd done, but she wasn't sorry either. For the first time in her life, she hadn't felt powerless. By the time the teacher arrived, Jason was writhing on the ground and Emily was clutching her books again, trying to hold herself together. The teacher immediately called the nurse and escorted both of them to the office. The principal's office was suffocatingly quiet as Emily sat in the chair across from Principal Harris. She knew what was coming, the lecture about violence, the possible suspension, the questions she didn't want to answer. Jason's parents would be furious. But she also knew that if she stayed silent, nobody would ever understand the storm she had been weathering for years. Emily, Principal Harris began, his voice softer than she expected. This is serious. Jason's elbow is fractured. But I need to hear your side of the story. Tell me what happened. For a moment, Emily hesitated, and she took a deep breath. He hit me, she said, her voice shaking. Everyone saw it. It's been tormenting me for years, and I never fought back. But today I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry I hurt him, but I was scared, and I'm tired. Her words poured out like water breaking through a dam. She told him everything, the shoving, the cruel jokes, the isolation she had felt every single day. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she didn't stop. When she was finished, Principal Harris leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. Emily, he said carefully, you should never have to defend yourself this way. We failed you. I'm going to investigate this, and I promise you things will change. But you must also understand that what you did today could have ended even worse. Emily nodded, her chest tight. She knew he was right. But she also knew she couldn't go back to the girl who let herself be treated like she was invisible. In the days that followed, the story spread through the school like wildfire. Jason was suspended for his history of bullying, and for the first time, people started looking at Emily differently. Some were afraid of her, others admired her, but no one dared to mock her again. It wasn't easy, though. Emily had to face whispers in the hall and classmates who asked invasive questions. She didn't like the attention, but she stood taller now. She joined the self-defense club at school, not because she wanted to hurt anyone, but because she never wanted to feel powerless again. She also found a small circle of friends, people who had watched her stand up to Jason and realized they had been silent about their own pain for too long. Together, they began to talk openly about bullying and the scars it left behind. Emily still struggled with the memory of that day. She replayed the moment she twisted Jason's elbow over and over in her mind, wondering if she had gone too far. But every time she saw the way other students now treated her with respect, instead of disdain, she knew one thing for certain: she had found her voice. Months later, Emily stood in front of her entire school at an assembly. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the microphone, but her voice was steady when she spoke. Bullying doesn't just hurt in the moment. It changes the way you see yourself. It makes you feel small, like you don't matter. But you do. Every single one of you matters. If you see someone being hurt, don't just stand by. Say something, do something, because no one should feel like I did for so long. The room was silent when she finished. And then, slowly, applause filled. The auditorium. Emily stepped down from the stage, her heart pounding. She wasn't the quiet girl anymore. She was someone stronger, someone who had turned her pain into a message that others needed to hear, and that was the real victory, not the moment she fought back, but the moment she realized she never had to feel invisible again. Message: strength isn't always about fighting back with violence. It's about standing up for yourself, speaking your truth, and believing that you deserve better. Emily's story became a reminder to everyone in that school that the quietest people often hold the most power, and that kindness, courage, and empathy can change everything.